Welcome to Spitbucket. This week, the Queen of Coonawarra, Sue Hodder. Welcome to Spitbucket.
Thank you, Ken. Nice to be here.
And now, these, they may look a bit odd because some of them don't have their proper labels yet, because we're actually doing this well before Wynnsday. Wynnsday, of course, is one of the famous days on the Australian wine calendar, and it's when you release all your top wines.
That's right, and so that's on August the 3rd, the first Wednesday in August.
Which should be today, actually.
Oh, yes? Oh, I see, yes. And these wines are just in casual clothing at this stage.
Indeed, yes. You've got 3 from 09, 3 from 08. Can you tell us a bit about the two vintages?
That's right. Actually, they're contrasting vintages in Coonawarra. 08 was a warmer than average year. The wines, as a result, are fuller bodied and have a lot more palate weight. 09 was arguably more classic Coonawarra, finer, more leafy character, and a nice finesse to them.
When you say leafy, though, I mean, a lot of people immediately think, oh, you're going to get that green herbaceous thing. I'm not seeing that in those.
No, and ultimately, when we determine green tannin, we don't like that, and we won't use it. We'll declassify those wines. But nonetheless, we still like to see a bit of that crushed leaf character, along with everything else, the cassis and the berries that you associate with Cabernet.
It all ties into the complexity.
Yeah, and sometimes you see a Cabernet from a very warm year where it could do with a bit more mintiness and variety and definition.
Now, before we have a quick look at these, tell us a bit about your role, because you've now been at Wynns for quite some time. A quick word on Wynns and yourself there.
Rightio, yes, I've just completed my 19th vintage at Wynns, and time has flown, but it's been great to see the range of different vintages and also the progression of what we're doing in the vineyards, and to be associated with the great Australian heritage label, of course.
It is a very famous place, and when you actually visited it, I mean, people see the label with the gable sort of thing. When you actually turn up to it, that's it. It's exact. It's not made up. It is exactly spot on.
Right.
You know exactly where you are. Okay, now we've got here the 09 black label.
Yes, in casual clothing,
yes,
as we
indeed,
said.
Indeed, in disguise.
Yes, so
as far as black labels go,
it probably is akin to something like the 99, if you like, or 93. It's certainly well within the spectrum of a 54-year history of this great label. And
because we've looked at the whole a few years ago, we looked at the whole lot.
Yeah, very special day in the Gables. And we think that the 2009 is well in the spectrum of a good Coonawarra black label.
So for ageing?
Look, these days I say to people 8 to 12 years, I find, from practically all our wines. And in some ways that can disappoint people, because they know we've got this 50-year heritage, and won't they go longer? Well, yes, they will, clearly, if they're cellared well. But the reality is that people like to see some primary fruit in combination with a little bit of bottle age complexity and softness, and it's nice to see both those characters in combination. So 8 to 12 is nice rule of thumb.
Well, when I looked at them before, I scribbled down, and I reckon it'll see 20 without too many hiccups.
Sure.
The screw caps, that's also presumably providing the opportunity for these wines, if well cellared, to age without the vagaries of tree bark.
Yes, well, that's right. We're not anti-cork. Just want a good closure.
We're not anti-anything on Spitbucket.
No, right.
Except Sauv Blanc. Sorry.
Endorse that one.
There we go.
And but the fact that the wines can be uniform, if you like, it takes away the bottle variation that you can see with the cork. So yeah, we've been very pleased with screw cap. We might use cork again in the future. I'm open to that, but at this stage we'll stay with screw cap.
What we have now is the VNA Lane.
Yes.
We're going into sub-regional for Coonawarra, which, as I said before we came on, we were talking about, and to me, your immediate sub-regions are the red soil and the black soil. But you guys are now looking beyond that.
Well,
not just at sort of the sub-regionals, but also then, of course, single vineyards. But tell us about the VNA Lane.
Certainly. So the VNA Lane area of Coonawarra, which is about half the way along the Terra Rossa Strip, from between Penola and the northern end of the strip, is an important area on a number of levels. Firstly, historically it was very important in the early days of John Riddoch and the surveying of the area. But secondly, viticulturally, it used to be said as long ago as the 80s that you couldn't get anything ripe south of the VNA Lane. Well, of course now that's not true, and there are a lot of lovely parcels made south of the VNA Lane, but they are quite different. And despite the flat topography of Coonawarra, there is a temperature gradation between Penola in the south and the northern end. This is about halfway along. The wines are characteristically finer in structure, and there's a few producers along that lane. Magella, Catnock, Penfolds have some vineyards.
Well, they all make some pretty good wines.
Yeah, and we think that these two wines really showcase the essence of the VNA Lane area.
For me, there's a Shiraz and a Cab Shiraz, and you said it was 70-30 blend. It's the Cab Shiraz that I particularly like, and I'm just we haven't got onto the 08 wines yet, but I'm just wondering 09 for Cabernet, 08 for Shiraz, perhaps, or is that very broad general?
Yeah, and that's probably valid in that 08 being a warmer year. The warmer years in Coonawarra are the best Shiraz years.
Your single vineyard, Davis, you were saying that's your favourite vineyard in Coonawarra.
I'm delighted.
Must be special.
Yes, lovely little vineyard in the heart of the Terra Rossa soil, and we've rejuvenated that vineyard, or cut its head off if you like, so it still retained the old root system and trunk, threaded it back onto a new trellis, and 08 was the first year that we've had, it's been back to form after that, which happened in 02, okay. So it's had a recess if you like.
Well, it's worth noting that when we lined these up, we said, well, we'll each grab a glass and just have the rather than sort of pull them out each time, because we have gone through and tasted them. We both chose that wine. That probably tells you something about it, I suspect.
Yes.
But the big guns.
Yes.
Riddoch and Michael, both from 08.
Yeah, and we think they're really what both those labels should be all about. Of course, we didn't have these wines from the 07 vintage after the frost, and they're awaited by many. They're both trophy winners at only 1 or 2 wine showings, and they're really the essence of Coonawarra with their intensity and structure.
Well, I was saying before that to me, I reckon 9 times out of 10, I'd always lean to the Riddoch as the pick of them, but for me, maybe in 5 years that'll have come out of its shell a bit, but at the moment it really is sort of not showing as much as, it is still so young.
Closed, yes.
Whereas that's lovely and approachable, and if I was drinking one today, it'd definitely be
for the Michael.
And
rightio.
In 5 years, we'll wait and see. But Sue, thank you so much for coming on Spitbucket.
Thank you, Ken.
Remember, any queries you've got for Sue or about Coonawarra or the Wynns wines, please shoot them in. We can pass them on. And remember, we spit so you don't have to. Cheers.
Cheers.